We're going to open our meeting. If everyone could stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. We'll open the meeting that way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Typically, our next act of business is public comments, but before we get to public comments, we have a quick blurb to read, a statement to read from the Selectmen. We'll read that and then move on. As some of the people are aware in this room, there was an incident in Maynard this past Saturday which involved an unidentified motorist directing an anti-Semitic profanity at a group of individuals peacefully holding election signs at the intersections of Nason and Main Streets. A report of this incident has been made with the Maynard Police Department, and they are reacting and responding accordingly. Make no mistake about it, there is no place in Maynard for this type of divisive behavior. The people of Maynard, your elected officials, and our administration pride ourselves on being a welcoming community, and we are and will always be diligent in protecting our citizens from being the victims of hate in any form directed at any group or individual within our community. The Board of Selectmen offers our apologies to those offended by this act, and we wish to reassure you that this behavior is not representative of our community and the good people who call Maynard home, and as such will not ever be tolerated within our community. Sincerely, your Board of Selectmen. And now on to our public comments. Do you have any public comments this evening? Yes, sir.
Just want to let you know, Chairman, I'm going to be streaming the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could I have his name?
Yeah, you got to give us your name, so for the
Senator,
minutes.
sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other public comments? None? All right, we're going to accept some minutes, or look to accept some minutes. Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of April 16th, 2019 as shown. Do you have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes as they were presented in the packet for April 16th? Okay. All those in favor? Thank you. Next is our correspondences. This week's correspondence are items A through M, and I make a motion that we move to accept and approve the correspondences A through M as shown. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Yes,
interrupt.
sir?
For two of the items in particular. Item F, which is the inquiry from New Can Group for a host community agreement. So we've been approached for, this will be our third potential host community agreement for a recreational marijuana retailer in town. This proposer has not yet identified where they would go, what commercial real estate would be available to them in the zone district that allows for that type of business in town. But I am welcome that they came to see us first, and so that we can try to help them identify what might be amenable to the town. But I also was forthright with him in that there is an article for the upcoming town meeting that would limit it to 2, and we have 2 host community agreements at this time. The town is not limited to the amount of host community agreements we can have. And, you know, depending on the results of the town meeting, that will determine how many eventual license we would have. So they came to us, and I just asked for the boards if they have any questions before I move into negotiations with this proposal for a host community agreement. Is there any objections?
Well, why are we moving to negotiation and not wait until the town meeting?
Because I have no legal obligation to wait. If you would
Okay.
like me to wait, I can. But in general, we try to be.
I'm just one voice here, but I don't know what everybody else thinks.
So-
I had one question about, as you just specified, that you could do, there's no limit to the host community agreements, but there is a possibility that they may, that the town may vote to limit the liquor, the retail licenses to 20% of the liquor licenses. But is there a first come, first served type of thing? So if, does Mass Wellspring and Green Star Herbal automatically, because they have their host community agreements first, would they have first crack at the licenses? Or if if New Can got their act together and was able to get their approvals and everything in place and their site ready prior to either of the other two, could we have issued it to them?
My understanding is that it is a first come, first served basis. I'm not
For
sure
the
what.
community or
Stage, I guess.
for the
Right,
license?
so,
First
right,
come, first served for the license, but in the HCA is a totally different thing. We can have as many HCA's as we want.
correct.
There's 2 licenses currently.
No, there's
Well,
2
We haven't issued
HCA's.
any.
Yeah, right, but
Yes.
there's the potential for 2.
Correct.
Depending upon the vote at town meeting.
Correct.
And those are first come, first served.
That's my understanding as well. I don't know if we have the legal authority to not entertain, the review of those licenses. If we say that we're going to not issue any licenses because we're waiting for the results of the town, although, I believe that we're months away from both the provisional certificate from the Cannabis Control Commission and we are just beginning the special permit process at the planning board for those 2 host community agreements we've already established. So, and
Well,
then we have a week and a half until the town meeting. So I think we'll know what the next step would have to be shortly anyways. But let's say that one or both of those 2 current host community agreements and those 2 proposers for retailers, if they get to the stage of having the Cannabis Control Commission approve their provisional certificate, they get a special permit from our planning board, and then it comes to the board for a license, that'll be, my recommendation is to, just as we would do for any other business, is to entertain those licenses first come, first serve. I don't know if we can wait to review or for the board to consider the review of those until we decide we want to pick the best of those 3. Could be a 4th. Tomorrow I could get a phone call by a 4th, proposer. So I'd have to check with legal counsel if we can wait, if that's what the board would like to do.
I guess my thought, I fully grasp what Armand is saying, and that why sort of give a hint if we don't know how town meeting is going to react to the article. But I also believe that they're taking as much of a risk as we are if they begin to negotiate and they understand that
I've already told them, right.
that there's a full chance that this may be in vain because they may not win out at the end of the day.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any harm in going forward with that, and perhaps we'll learn that their negotiating tactics are much different, and they're looking to be much more friendly to Maynard, and suddenly we have a 3rd group that's in there, and then it's a scramble to see who gets to the license first, right?
That's what I told them. I have no clue what the reviewing process is at the state level for the Cannabis Control Commission. So for all I know, it'll be a very long time between the 2 that we have so far, Green Star and Wellspring, or maybe one of the 2 will come out before the other. I don't know.
So I guess
Same at the planning board.
I guess my initial impression is if they know the risk that it may be a waste of their time at the end of the day, and they're still willing to talk,
That's right.
well, then, okay.
That's what I told them right as soon as I shook their hand. So then they still want to move into negotiations. I just wanted to check if there was any objections from the board.
I do not object. Does anybody object? Mr.
Well,
Anderson?
my only point was, why can't we wait a week and a half before we do any negotiations? That's all.
Well, they may not even be available for a
Right.
week and a half, so, or whatever, 2 weeks or whatever.
2 weeks.
I think it's a valid point.
So even if I propose you, in the past I had not gotten like a full motion from the board. This is more like an awareness for the board, and just again to make sure that I'm not doing anything against your guidance. But let's say that we have a host community agreement for the consideration of the board. You don't have to vote on it that night. Maybe you do want to wait for a little bit. That's up to you.
Okay.
So right now, this is me just giving you notice that someone came to us and we were considering moving into negotiations for a host community agreement, just as we had.
Okay.
All right, very good. The other one, Mr. Chairman, was to point out that we did get the settlement agreement from the Department of Labor Standards.
Thank you.
And
Saw
so
that.
we will continue to work with the DLS on the agreed to corrective actions, which was something we had well in place before moving it.
Okay.
I think that's all I have for correspondence, Mr.
Does
Chairman.
anybody else have any comments on the correspondence?
Yeah, on the, I guess the correspondence to M, that looks like it's a preliminary thing in regards to Down Road, the proposal that they're looking to, HUD is looking to change that to a Section 8.
That's right. I asked Bob Larkin if he could provide some backup message, just because he's the expert as the director of the housing authority for the town. So I think it would be best to have him brief you more on that. He gave his quick summary on it, but
Right.
I'm not a housing expert myself, and you and I have like a loose understanding of those terms. So if the board would like, I can have Bob come in. I can have Mr. Larkin come in and tell you all what that is.
I'd like to know what the impacts might
Right.
be and what the
Absolutely.
implications might be. It has not been, just for the information of the board, it's not been an issue that's been brought up to the Affordable Housing Trust.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we have not had any discussion on this particular topic, so I don't know from that perspective, even if it affects affordable housing numbers and everything else, our numerator and denominator and everything else, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to amend that last motion because it's A through N, not A through M.
You missed
Do I
it.
have to correct that?
What did you say?
I said M,
Oh.
Yeah.
as in Michael.
Yeah, but I don't accept N.
Yeah,
Well,
just do A through M.
yeah, A through M. So when we get to N, N is, just take a moment.
Yes.
N is, refers to Aaron McCloskey's resignation letter, which sadly we've accepted. But being that Aaron is here tonight, I just want to take this opportunity from the board and the community of Maynard, the town of Maynard, to thank Aaron for several years of outstanding, high-quality service to the town. He's made a world of difference in many departments within town government, including his own, the DPW, and several others in which we've asked him to become involved. So I just want to thank Aaron and wish him well. You know, I'll take back the threats I made.
So I do have some comments in relation to that, but can we wait that for at the end? Is
We
that
can do
what
it
you
at
would?
the end if you
Yes,
want.
okay.
All right? We'll do it during the
Comments.
comment section, okay. So all those in favor of accepting the correspondences A through M and N? Thank you. Okay, we have a public hearing at 7:10, and it is now 7:11, so we have to do the public hearing at 7:10. Becky, can you give me back that folder? Because I have to read it.
I can, boss.
Isn't he just reading this?
No, actually, I don't have that particular folder back, so one of your teammates must have it.
Yep, it's up here.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just passed it back.
All right, so we have to read the legal notice. The legal notice reads, "Notice is hereby given in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 138, as amended, that a public hearing will be held on Wednesday, May 8th, 2019, at 7:10 in the Michael J. Giannotis Meeting Room, Room 201, at the Maynard Town Building, on the application for a new retail restaurant license on premise for all alcohol beverages as a common victualler license for 110 Grill MC Maynard LLC, doing business as 110 Grill at 9 Digital Way, Maynard, Massachusetts. Manager will be Gene Ryan, and a copy of the application is on file with the Office of the Selectmen. And the meeting is open at 7:13. And it is a public meeting, a hearing, rather, so if people have any questions or concerns they'd like to voice, the process is, the microphone is here, you have to present yourself to the microphone, state your name and address, and then whichever comments or concerns you'd like to voice, make it that time, please. So the hearing is open. Any questions for the gentleman before us?
Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Kevin Erickson on behalf of the applicant, 110 Grill MC Maynard LLC. With me tonight, Mr. Gene Ryan, the proposed liquor license manager of the 110 Grill Maynard, seeking an all-alcohol restaurant license, as the chairman indicated, as well as extended Sunday hours to allow for a brunch option at the restaurant, common victualler and entertainment license. The premises will be located at 9 Digital Way at the upcoming Maynard Crossing development. The premises size is about 7,160 square feet, more or less. which includes a 5730 square foot indoor area, restaurant area, as well as a 1430 square foot patio area. If the board's not familiar with the 110 Grill concept, we are I like to call us an upscale casual American grill with an open kitchen concept. We are locally owned and operated. We started in Massachusetts with one location in Chelmsford in 2014. Since that time, we've grown rapidly to 22 locations, mostly in Massachusetts, but also in New Hampshire and New York. Most recently, we have over a half dozen on the docket for 2019 and 2020. We currently are proud to say that we employ approximately 1,500 people at this point, and we're growing. So we're excited to join your community. We take our charge as liquor license holders very seriously in every community. We recognize that liquor licenses are truly the lifeblood of full-service restaurants, and so we're as incentivized to take that seriously as anybody. So I appreciate your time. And certainly, if you have any questions between Gene and myself, hopefully we can answer them.
I assume everyone on the premise who handles liquor will be tip certified.
Correct.
Okay.
The entertainment license part, presumably, is there an anticipated, literally live entertainment, or more so is that just for televisions?
So we do live entertainment that includes usually a solo performer, and it's limited to acoustic instruments. So it's not too frequently. It's normally during the warmer months. We have great patio features. I don't know if any of you had a chance to go to any of our restaurants. We have a fire pit. It's a very welcoming area. Sometimes we'll have the performer in that area. Sometimes they'll be indoors. But it's not, I wouldn't say it's a huge component of our business, but people enjoy it. And like I said, it's not a rock band. So we're happy limiting it to acoustic instruments if that's the board's pleasure.
The other comment I was going to make, and I'm glad that I saw the package when I came in, because when I was looking over the material that was given to us, I was concerned because I didn't see the diagram of the floor plan that we're, and I know it's in the packet and I've seen it, so I'm satisfied with that. I was prepared to ask for a continuance until we saw the floor
sure.
plan.
No, we
But
need
the
that.
floor plan is here, so it's
It would be
fine.
summarily rejected by the ABCC anyway, so I
Yeah,
would
so,
appreciate it.
well, I realized that, and it wasn't in the packet, and I was like, I don't want to look like a jerk saying no.
No, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Well, we look forward to having you in town, so.
That's great. Thank you very much. We're very excited.
When do you anticipate, I don't even think, it's not even remotely
Yeah.
built yet, so the
No,
question is-
but we're getting very excited for it to get underway. And once the premises is turned over to us by the landlord, we're about 120-day build out. So we move pretty quick. At this point, we've done a few of them.
and for people who haven't seen the diagrams that you submitted to us, and correct me if I'm wrong with this, but the way I understood it is that the location of the 110 Grill is on the left-hand side as you're looking at the property, furthest left-hand side in the front pad. Is that accurate?
Geez, I don't have a visual in my head of the site plan, but
I thought that's where,
If you were
if
looking
you're
at,
looking straight ahead into,
it's on the right hand.
on the
from
right-
On the right-hand
the
side.
Fences near Field
Yes.
Street.
okay, so I was looking at it backwards.
Okay.
the far right-hand side.
Far right-hand
Okay,
side,
the
okay.
1,420 square foot, no,
It's 1,300,825
Yeah.
on this plan.
okay. Yeah.
Non-digital way, I think, is the building.
Where did you find that? I didn't see that.
It's on part 2,
In part, yes, thank you.
Part
In the
D.
executive.
yeah, in the executive part. No, I think it's from.
I didn't
here,
see
this is
it.
Parker Street.
Ah, there it is. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Fitness,
Okay.
yep. Excellent.
Parker Street, so it's here.
So this is just, I don't even know if this is relevant to our area, but any concerns that you guys are oversaturating the area? I mean, we really, I love the concept. I've been to the restaurants, and we would love you to stay and be invested in Maynard. So I just want to make sure that.
Our plan is to be here for the long haul. We don't believe that we're oversaturating the market. We've had, restaurants in relative close proximity, but, we're.
Well, the closest one is Wayland and Hudson.
I'd say that's right.
Yeah,
And that's a little bit of a distance here.
yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is I think this is a nice, unique market for us, and we're excited to be entering it.
Excellent, good.
Okay. But, the notes indicate that the police, fire, and building commissioners have no issues after reviewing the plans and prints as shown for everybody's information. Does anybody, other than the five of us, have any questions or comments they'd like to make at this time? Do any of us have any further comments or questions?
Just an apology to Greg for not having seen it, or to Becky for not having seen this. I totally missed it, and I was looking.
Okay. All right. So, make a motion. And the motion is to accept and approve the application for a new retail restaurant license on premise for all alcohol beverages as a common victualler, license for 110 Grill MC Maynard LLC DBA 110 Grill at 9 Digital Way, Maynard, Mass, with the manager Gene Ryan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Once again, the hearing is still open. So I'll ask one last time if any members of the public have any questions in regards to the license for 110 Grill at 9 Digital Way, which is inside of the 129 Parker Street complex. Okay, so we'll vote. All those in favor? Okay, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you
Good
all.
luck.
We look
Welcome to town.
Thank
And
you.
it is 7:21, and I make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Hearing is closed. Okay, are you ready, Dawn?
Yes.
Okay, come on, please. You come in? Come on. Don't just sit back there and play with your phone. What are you playing?
Cards.
Okay.
Solitaire.
All right, so,
Solitaire.
as this, this did not end up on the agenda, but it was something that we had discussed prior to the election, and that was that the seat that was emptied when Justin Hem resigned his position, that once a candidate had won that seat for the remainder of the term, the winner of that seat, who then goes on to a 3-year term, that we would offer them the opportunity to fill out the seat for the remainder of the term, which expires on June 30th, 2019. And that's something that we would have to do with jointly between the Selectmen and the school committee, and that is why Dawn is here, so we're here for that. And so if you want to make a motion?
Yeah, no, thank you, that's an excellent summary. The school committee had last-minute conflicts, so just didn't want anyone to read anything into that, but they asked me all to convey that we're all very happy to welcome Mrs. Clancy after a very long and hard-fought election season. I think everyone did really well, but we're very happy to welcome her to the committee, and we are very hopeful she would like to start tomorrow and has time to get sworn in. So we're here just to sign the paperwork and take a vote, I hope, so.
Okay.
Excellent, very good.
Okay, so I guess the motion is to accept and approve the suggestion to name Lydia Clancy to the remainder of Justin Hem's school board.
This would actually be an appointment, right?
Yeah,
Right.
an appointment,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so an appointment that runs through June 30th, 2019 officially.
Okay, so all those in favor? Done? For us? So you want us to sign that, and then you guys sign it?
At this point, I always look at Becky, but yes, you should all sign.
Yeah, if you have it, right.
Yeah, we'll sign, just
We'll just go down the
go
line.
right down the row and we'll sign it,
Excellent.
and then you guys can sign it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So do you have to, if you can get sworn in tomorrow, join us tomorrow night, you know where? Town clerk's office.
Okay, Lydia at 8:05, that will be in the town clerk's office tomorrow.
Thank you. Great. Thank you very much, and thanks
Thanks,
for being
thanks for
here.
Kim.
Thank you.
Don't forget your piece of paper. Do you want the rest
I
of the
think you
school
want
committee
to
to
give
sign
that to
it?
Michelle.
Do you have to have more than one sign it, though?
Oh,
We
for
need
you,
three.
for you?
We need 3 to sign it. Do you
Oh,
need-
okay.
Do you have a
Well,
minimum?
Actually need three
Make
to
that
have a meeting.
Yeah. Huh?
It's not,
I think, right? Do they need 3 too?
okay, so
Honestly, it's a combination of our boards.
Oh, okay, so then we have,
if it was a joint meeting, then there should have been a quorum of the school committee present. I just want to clarify a couple things, but I was kind of biting my tongue. So, according to our charter, an official correspondence should come from the body of the vacancy. Did we get a correspondence from the school committee?
Yes.
All right, so be it. They notifying the board of selectmen that there is a vacancy that needs to be appointed, then you can have a joint meeting. There's no quorum of the school committee. I'm not trying to be, I was trying to just get it signed by the fist 5, but, so, it was a nice gesture that you voted on behalf of but you can't vote on behalf of the rest of the quorum. It's really a 5-0 vote.
Yeah, you vote.
Okay.
oh,
All right.
okay,
Okay,
Okay.
right.
okay.
All right.
All right, so I
So,
I'm
yeah,
gonna leave it here, because it definitely doesn't have anyone any good at my house.
Okay.
So, whatever you need.
All right, thank you.
thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Okay.
I was just trying to get the
No,
ball
it's okay.
moving.
No, you
All
did.
right, okay.
Oh, by the way, did it hurt? You're biting your tongue, you said.
I got gum in my mouth. It's good, it's good. I just chewed faster.
All right, we have an appointment, an alternate appointment to the planning board, and,
We can do the consent agenda. We've got appointments and everything.
So you stopped after
Sorry.
correspondence, Mr.
oh,
Chairman, so
okay, so now, all right.
it's up to you
okay.
as the chairman. You can rearrange if you would like.
No, I forgot about the consent, because it's
Consent
probably why
agenda.
most of the people are here.
Yeah. They're here to see themselves get their approval on their cemetery deed.
No. No, that the, those that are standing. All right, so within the consent agenda, the consent agenda this week consists of 5 items, and I make a motion that we move to accept and approve the 5 consent agenda items, A through E as shown. And, do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Within the consent agenda, there is some appointments for the police chief. We'd like to make this evening, so we'll get to that, and that's item C. And the police chief is here. Good evening.
Hi, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Little history, background, as you know, Officer Chris Sweeney resigned in March to take a position with the environmental police, which created one opening. And then in anticipation of Sergeant Greg Belzotti retiring, we have a second position. Greg's unofficial last day is in June. He'll actually retire, expected sometime early August. So we did a hiring process. Obviously, Mr. Chairman, you were involved in the interview process. And we selected 2 internal candidates. The first one is James McGrath, who's been communications dispatcher for us from August of 2015 till presently. He's also a special police officer, went to the part-time police academy. He's been doing that for almost a year. And he also has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Bridgewater State. The second selection is Jordan Blackington, who's a special police officer with us, started in last November. He also has a bachelor's from Suffolk University in government law and public policy. Both excellent candidates. They're very well liked and respected amongst the department members. Full support of everybody in the agency. The police academy that is the hard thing for us to kind of coordinate is at Lowell Police Department starting May 20th, so in about a week and a half, and they're off for 6 months of basic training, basically. And we're really looking forward to and excited to have them on board, and just asking for their appointment tonight.
Are they here tonight, Chief?
They are, yep. Gentlemen? So, one, James.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Congratulations.
Any
Does
questions?
anyone have any questions?
We'll tell you what our license plates are later.
Yeah, there you go.
That's inappropriate. Does anybody have any questions for the 2 gentlemen? I've already met them, so.
I don't think so.
Okay.
So take a good look, because you won't see them again until
I say,
Oh, yeah, that's right, they'll be going to boot camp, huh?
See you in December.
Yeah,
back for the holidays.
Excellent.
well, we wish you all the best. Good luck.
And then hopefully the next time we see you, it won't be looking through the windshield of the
Yeah,
car, and, you know, handing you my
Yeah, well,
license and registration.
I just can say that having sat through the process of hearing Chief Mike Noble and others talk to these two guys, that two great choices for the town of Maynard. I look forward to having you on the force, and see you when you get out. We do another ceremony with painting.
that's right, there'll be,
Who is who? Which one of you?
James, Jordan. So, good luck.
yes, good luck.
And we don't have to vote tonight, it's just
Right.
Consent.
done,
Excellent.
Yep.
okay? So thank you very much, thanks, Chief.
Good luck,
Yeah,
gentlemen.
yeah,
Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard.
All right, the others is just the Memorial Day Parade, a cemetery deed, and the outdoor seating at Serendipity. Did we get that, did that all get straightened out?
No, so I did want to address that,
All
Mr.
the
Chair.
wear and everything?
Okay, so, for the outdoor seating so Serendipity requested outdoor seating. My understanding is that, we did not have a application process in place last year. Right. And in that, we didn't have a fee. Now, we do. But the fee language was not clear, in my opinion, and Megan Zamuto, the assistant town administrator, you know, who's really should be talking now because she did all the work. But as we were looking at it together, we decided that it seemed a little vague as to how often the fee should be paid. My understanding is that they have not paid a fee in the past, but now that there is a fee in place, we just want to make sure that the language of the permit, the application, is clear. Let me just specify. It says that a one-time fee will be paid, and I think it's $100. But that's my understanding. The intention of that fee was for it to be annual, as are most of the other licenses in town. So we were going to clear that up. Plus, that application itself was a little lengthy. We just wanted to clean it up. So as Megan and I were looking at it, we're always trying to be business friendly. We figured just for the clarity of it, you know, would the board consider waiving that $100 fee just to make sure that it's clear? But because my other side of it, just to be fair to both sides, is that they have not paid a fee in the past. That's because we didn't have this application in the past. Now we do. So regardless of that particular language, they'd still have to pay the $100. So it's up to the board.
So if we waive it for one, we have to waive it for all?
I would
Waive
think
it
we
for
would
one.
I would think we would waive it for this season, and while this all gets I think that's what your point is.
Because this is a transition, basically, to a lot
Right,
of
so we'd waive it if we've
businesses.
never had it before. I
Right.
realize that we're looking at revenue, but if we've never had it before, we would waive it for this season, get all
Right.
our ducks in a row, and then come back next year with the clear fee structure and,
You could do that, but
oh, was that not your intent?
well, I just want to make sure everyone understands the options that you have. So yes, you could waive every outdoor seating application fee. How many do we have?
Probably
Okay,
got
so
three or four, maybe?
There's the pizza place,
there's-
there's the Mexican place.
How many do we have
Pizza place
pending
doesn't
right now?
have one?
The alcohol establishments have it as part of their patios.
Okay.
And the Pizza House, that's their property, so it's not ours at all, and.
Same
the-
with the
The
Bean,
Bean House, that's their
that's
property
their
too.
property.
So how many?
So
how many
in
do we
reality, it's
have?
just him.
We have the one pending right now.
It's just
So if we
serendipity.
fix the application tomorrow, which won't, like Megan's working on it, then we notify that everyone that yes, now is the proper application. So if you apply now, you will be applicable to pay that fee. That's all. So you could do one of two ways. You could say no fees for any other applications you get for this particular type of outdoor seating for the rest of the summer, or you could say we're going to fix it tomorrow. So next time you apply, you're going to pay.
Well, let me ask this. First off, I would say waive it, and we'll start next year. But the group that was just here, 110 Grill, they're going to have a patio. Are they subject to?
That's all part of the
That's
liquor.
part of their package,
So, okay.
okay.
It's in
Well,
their
thanks for
description.
clarifying that, because I was confused.
And same with the PC, they have an outdoor seating
Yeah.
now.
They do.
And Battle
That's
Road,
part-
same thing?
Battle Road, same thing.
Part of the liquor
Okay.
license, yeah.
Are you allowed to impose a fee for alcohol-based? Are you
On
allowed
top
to?
of the fee they're already paying for the liquor license?
That's, so along with the liquor license, it comes with an agreement that they're allowed to have. Is that true about every community for a liquor license?
Yeah,
Yes?
the ABCC sets that, yeah.
Okay.
Which
I
is
think-
similar
I think
to your
the-
point of what you want to see the plan itself.
Yeah.
So you have to be very clear about how far, like,
Where
you
the
see the sign
liquor's
that says
gonna
no
be
alcohol
served.
past this
Yeah.
point, that's the point.
Yeah,
There's a
okay.
boundary. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
I think that's part of the issue you were looking at before, with the floor plan. It has to
Yeah.
be in part of your floor plan when you apply.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I don't have a problem waiving the fee for this year, but if, if anyone else decides they want to do the same thing, they should probably get the same benefit.
Okay.
clean it up and we'll get it for next year. It will
And
be-
I thought Gigi's or a couple other people, I thought there was a couple of places last year who had chairs and seating out front.
Gigi's doesn't have anything outdoors.
I think she had a couple last year.
Doesn't Gigi serve alcohol?
Right,
So
But they
she,
weren't
but they didn't have
They weren't
outdoors.
serving it outside.
Maybe with the new
Alright.
thing, you never know.
alright, so that's a good
But
point.
anyway, yeah, I don't have a problem waiving it for this year, that's fine.
Yeah, same here.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
So otherwise, Mr. Chairman.
Get those
Are we
picnic
still,
tables out.
are we still all set with understanding where the tables are and everything? There was a question with that earlier.
Yeah, they're in the same exact place as last year.
Okay.
They are in compliance with the ADA and all that.
Okay,
Could you give us your name? I didn't know.
I'm John Hobson, owner of Serendipity Cafe.
okay. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Given that the understanding is, the misunderstanding is partly our responsibility as well, so.
Okay.
Okay, we're good. Thanks,
All
John.
right, thanks.
Anything on the two other,
I'll have
the Veterans Parade or the cemetery deeds?
Is there gonna be a parade at the cemetery? What?
They used to go through.
Used to go through. But, all right, so, again, let's see, it's 4 correspondence, A through D, A through E, 5 correspondence.
You're missing a letter every day.
Becky did it to me. I'm gonna blame somebody. All right, so, all those in favor of the correspondence items, or the consent items? Okay. All right, can I do the planning board now? Planning board member? We have a request for an alternate planning board member, and good evening, sir.
Evening.
I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna guess that you're Michael Utley.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so we have a motion, and the motion is to appoint Michael Utley as the alternate planning board member with a term that ends June 30th, 2020. To the second.
Sec-
Thank you. Good evening, Michael. So we all should have a copy of your information, and I just, does anybody have any questions for Michael in regards to the planning board alternate?
What raises your interest?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that.
Bill Nemser. I'm a member of the Master Plan Steering Committee. I moved here 3 years ago, and I got interested in that master planning, and I had been speaking to him, and I knew Megan had gotten a new job, and I guess that left a vacancy. So I'm interested in learning more. I'll be upfront in that I don't have a lot of experience in town government, but I'm open-minded. I can participate in meetings and learn about things, and I'd like to learn more. And I'm raising my family here, so I have a lot of vested interest in the town.
Hanging around with Bill Nemser, you'll certainly get a lot of information.
Have
What you choose to do with
have-
that information?
Yeah,
Have you
What-
had an opportunity to go to planning board meetings?
Yes.
What's your general thought relative to, and I'm not going to vote against you, so don't worry about your answer, relative to development and how we work within our rules to make sure that the development fits. And it's appropriate that you're on the master plan, because that's part of it. It's all a puzzle, right? So what are your thoughts on that? On how planning and approving and making sure things work for our community and for the character of the town?
Yeah, I think the rules, at least from what I've observed, aren't meant to be really restrictive and stop people from doing things. And I think what I've seen is people are willing to, discuss and help out the applicants and what they need to be doing, as long as they're not impeding on other people. So one thing that people talk about a lot is making the downtown area more dense and centralizing and using multi-use to that. I think that's really important for a town like ours, but I'd read the rules and I'd follow the rules, but where something is not like very black and white as you can't do this, I'd try to help applicants. get
Okay,
it.
great. Good luck.
yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully pick up some of the enthusiasm that Bill has.
Yeah.
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 He has a lot.
I'll try.
Anyone? Any other questions?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Well, thank you for stepping up.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
All those in favor of this appointment? All right, thank you, and thank you for volunteering.
Yes.
We
Thank
do
you very
appreciate
much.
it.
see you at the master planning meeting.
Great, thank you.
Your appointment stuff will be with the town clerk tomorrow, so if you want to stop by the town.
Thank you. All right.
License.
Request for a livery license?
I apologize.
Again?
He appears to be a no-show again tonight, so.
Oh, wow.
All right. We will put a
Jeez.
dot next to his name. Or just on the agenda, not anywhere else. All right, so, next up, we have a request from, Smack Noodle. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Harry. I'm the owner of Smack Noodle.
Okay, wait 1 second. How do you pronounce your last name?
Kongnakon.
Kongakorn?
Yes.
Okay, because I have to read this, and then you can tell us what you want to tell us, but I didn't want to mispronounce it. So the motion is to accept and approve a common victual license and an entertainment license for Harit Kongakorn, owner of Hachi Hachi, DBA Smack Noodle, 45 to 47 Main Street. Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you.
And I'm
Go ahead.
recusing myself from the vote.
Okay,
Because?
No,
No.
because you like the food?
okay.
Well, that I'm very excited for.
All right, so, go ahead.
Yeah. It's,
My name is Harry Kongnakon. I'm the owner of Smack Noodle. Yeah. I'm here for a request from common victual license and entertainment license. Yeah. So my restaurant, we are serving the ramen, is a Japanese noodle soup, and Asian street food. Yeah. Usually, especially it's like a Japanese and Thai style. Yeah.
so what interests you in Maynard? Because you live in Alston. So what was it that appealed to you about Maynard?
Yeah, we the Maynard is like a small town, but they have like a it's a nice town and nice community. Yeah, and yeah, it's good to yeah.
Okay.
Have you owned other restaurants? Have you owned other restaurants? Or is this
This is
your
the
first
first one?
time? Good for you.
So you must like cooking.
Are you cooking? Okay.
I think I know the area that you'll be going in. Have you been doing work there already to get it ready?
Yes.
Okay.
And when do you think that you'll be opening? Any idea?
As soon as possible.
Good answer.
Excellent.
That's a good
Great.
answer.
Great.
Yeah, I try to finish everything in this month.
Oh, great. So
Wow.
kind of around the summer-ish,
Yes.
maybe. Good. Fantastic.
Okay. How many, does it say how many seats we have?
Yeah, it
How
says
much- how many-
19.
How many seats?
19 seats, it says.
Yeah, okay. I didn't open that yet. All right. Do you plan, so the common victual and entertainment license usually go with one. Are you planning on any entertainment or just the food?
He says television and speaker. Speaker means what, music? Is that what?
But no live entertainment or anything like that? Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Any other questions? No?
No?
I think so.
All those in favor of the license?
Well,
Good luck.
Welcome to
Good luck-
Maynard.
Good luck and
Welcome.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Next up. Is this a, isn't the Garfield and the Douglas want to repeat?
No, it's the first time.
Okay.
First time. Excellent.
I asked the exact same question.
All right, motion to approve the
So, yeah.
block party permit at Garfield and Douglas Avenue on Saturday, June 15th, with a rain date of July 13th, from 3 PM until 7 PM. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
One comment. first off, have fun, but.
Thank you.
I thought several years ago, we made a board general policy that block parties for the first, oh, those are the renewals that can be, okay.
Renewals.
All right, never mind.
Okay,
Next year, you won't have to come sit here, you just push it right through.
all
We'll
right.
put it through as our correspondence item or
Yeah.
consent item, and then it's just a quick, Becky would just send you the permit.
Becky has been very helpful in my getting this organized.
Okay, so, I guess, typically they block the DPW will send someone to block the street off for you, and then, if you call the fire chief on occasion, they've been known to, drive a fire engine down there for a little while and all that fun stuff, so,
Yeah.
hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of those things on the date in question. And there's no, no issues or concerns from either the fire department, the police, or the DPW. Does anybody here have any concerns?
No, not at all.
Enjoy.
Yeah, have fun.
Yep. All right, so all those in favor?
Hopefully
Okay,
no
great.
rain date and
Thanks,
have
good
fun
luck.
on June 15th.
Great, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully it stops raining by June
Yeah, right.
15th.
Do you know today's the first day in May that Boston has not had measurable rain? Wow. I know,
Good
seriously.
evening, sir. Capital Water
And
Improvement
now we're
Plan.
gonna talk about water.
No, water, speaking about rain.
Exactly.
Good evening.
Hello
evening,
there.
sir.
Is this going to be your last presentation?
Yes,
About the rain.
last one.
He's gonna tell us all sorts of good news before.
Yeah.
You got that well back up and
You
ready?
got to leave us in good position.
Try, right here.
All right.
Got a good plan for moving forward, so. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Colosimo, Director of Public Works, Town of Maynard. Joining me this evening is Erica Lotz from Stantec, and Gary McCarthy is in the audience. And we're going to be presenting an overview of our water distribution system capital improvement plan. So a few years back, we identified that we didn't have a good capital improvement plan for our distribution system, which is essentially the water mains that are out in the roadways, below the roadways, that transport drinking water from the water treatment plants to properties throughout Maine. So we wanted to identify, essentially do a condition assessment townwide of the distribution system, look at any issues that we may have had based on historical water breaks or issues we've had in the distribution system with fire flows, and create a hydraulic model of the system in a capacity townwide, as we do have some new developments coming to town currently and some more possibly on the horizon, and get a good idea and a plan for moving forward for the community. So we haven't had any of these similar type of document for the distribution system for decades.
Thank you.
And, we thought it was very appropriate to have that. Similar to kind of what we're doing with the White Swan study, looking at the treatment side and the supply and demand. This is looking at the pipes below the ground and looking at the condition of those, and developed a long-term capital improvement plan for that part of the water system. So, I'll turn it over to Erica.
Okay.
And provide kind of an
We're
overview
having
of the
technical
work that
difficulties.
Okay,
her team did.
so.
We can all see it on our computers. It's
Okay.
just that for home, they're not gonna be
Yeah,
able to
we-
see it right now.
Okay, then I'll keep track onto the paper in front of me. So, as Aaron said, we, did a study of the water distribution system, and so if we can go to the next slide.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
We have it up here, though. You have the next slide
Yeah,
there.
oh, yeah, we can follow along
Okay,
completely,
perfect,
yeah.
then. Yep.
Slide, the slide after the map, are we on?
Yes, okay. With the title Water Distribution CIP Overview. Okay. So as Aaron mentioned, this document's really a planning level document in order to evaluate the water distribution system, identify any system deficiencies, and along with identifying any capital improvements required to really provide a roadmap for infrastructure upgrades. So as Aaron mentioned, there hasn't really been this sort of study, this comprehensive study looking at the water distribution system. So we initiated this study to kind of take a high-level look at the water distribution system and identify what kind of improvements need to be done so that those can be planned in a very practical and deliberate way moving forward. On the next slide, just a little overview of the water distribution system. Overall, there's 58 miles of water main, generally varying in size from 4-inch all the way up to 16-inch. There's a total of 590 mainline valves, 2 water storage tanks, and the capacity of those tanks combined is 4.5 million gallons. There's a total of 423 fire hydrants, just over 4,000 services. And as you've heard kind of at previous presentations, your average day demand is about 0.7 million gallons per day, with a maximum day demand of just over 1 million gallons per day. And that's really this past year's data set, so 2018 max day demand. And 90% of the water system is really residential water use, and with the remaining being any commercial or industrial. So the next slide outlines the CIP process that we followed. So what we did first was develop a hydraulic model to simulate the water system operation. So essentially that's kind of taking a map of the water system and laying it out in a special software package that allows us to run hydraulic calculations to simulate the water system. We went out in the field and did hydrant flow tests. So that involves working with DPW staff to open and measure flows from different hydrants while also monitoring pressures in the system. And we use that information to calibrate the model, because what we're really trying to do is have a water system model that replicates the existing conditions in the water system. So after we do some field time, we come back in the office and calibrate that water system, calibrate that hydraulic model to replicate the conditions we saw out in the field. And so once we have that system, that hydraulic model calibrated, then we can take that opportunity to sort of evaluate the distribution system against fairly standard metrics on how we measure the strength of a water system. And the benefit of having this model done for this capital improvement plan is that this hydraulic model will also, not only will it just allow you to identify system deficiencies, you can also use it from time to time when, say, a new subdivision is being proposed. What's that impact going to be on the water system? Fairly quick, you can do some brief hydraulic model runs to evaluate what that would do to the water system, and you can run through those conditions. And it also allows you to troubleshoot water distribution system operation. So while we're kind of in the middle of the study, after we had calibrated the model, Aaron had reached out. They were doing some flushing in some areas and got low water pressure complaints from people. So we were able to look at the model and determine, what was really the cause of that. They've flushed these hydrants before in sort of similar manners, but we were looking at it and we determined we think that there's potentially closed valves in the area. So we were able to kind of work together and see if DPW could maybe go out and troubleshoot a little bit. So it's a great tool to kind of use just for day-to-day system operation as well.
Is that
I think your remote's
Clicker's
working
working now.
Oh, now I got to do this?
Is that a proprietary tool, or is that something that Maynard has access to?
No, so it is a specialty software that one could purchase, but the software, to be honest with you, is fairly expensive. It ends up being fairly cost prohibitive. It's maybe $20,000, $30,000 to buy the software. But what we have it and we know how to use it. So anytime there's an issue that comes up, a quick phone call, we can run the system. I have had some clients, some municipalities who have decided to purchase the software, and then we'll do a little training and sort of show you how to use it. But to be honest with you, they don't get a lot of bang for their buck for that, because you really need somebody who's using the software more day to day to be able to kind of jump in and do it.
Okay.
So, next slide. See if this works. On the water distribution system improvements, the water system, the conclusions really are that the water system is generally fairly well looped. There's some minimal hydraulic deficiencies that we found, and so our improvements are really primarily focused on transmission mains, unlined water mains, parallel water main abandonment, and valve investigation and replacement. So we kind of do this first pass and say, are the pipes adequately sized for the system? And the answer to that is yes. So there aren't really any hydraulic deficiencies. But that doesn't mean there's not improvements that could be made. And so we'll kind of go through each of these bullets in a little bit more detail so you can understand what those improvements mean. So on the next slide is focused on transmission mains. So you can see there's a bit of a kind of a snapshot of the water system kind of in the northwest portion of town. So we identified some transmission main improvements, and what that really means is upsizing water mains in some segments in order to strengthen the water system to be able to move water from, say, one side of town to the other. So in this little snapshot area here, this is near the Rockland Ave water treatment plant. And in that case, the pipes that are blue in color right near the wells and the sources of supply, that's a 12-inch pipe, so that's a pretty good-sized pipe for you guys. But as it gets to Acton Street, the pipe goes down to 6-inch. And in the neighborhood on the left-hand side, it goes down to 8-inch. So what we're really recommending is to kind of strengthen the pipe diameters from this source of supply to allow the water system to kind of, to allow that supply to better hit more of the demand center in the center of town. On the next slide. Another area that we looked at was online cast iron water main. So cast iron water main was primarily the oldest pipe in your system is typically online cast iron pipe, and that pipe was installed, generally speaking, up until the 50s, some into the 60s. And online cast iron pipe can build up tuberculation on the interior of the pipe. So if you see the photograph on the right-hand side, that shows a pipe coupon. So it's a section of pipe, not from Maynard, but from another community that we work with. And that buildup that you can see on the interior pipe, we call that tuberculation. So it's really like kind of an iron buildup on the interior of the pipe. And that can reduce the overall carrying capacity of the pipe and can sometimes result in discolored water complaints. Oftentimes when there's a buildup of that tuberculation and flow ends up maybe reversing for some reason, then that can cause that tuberculation to slough off and result in discolored water. So the pipe on the right is the tuberculated pipe. There is a method that we can use to address the online cast iron pipe without having to do open cut construction. So we can do what we call cleaning and cement lining of water main. So that's really an excavation to the pipe, say every 500 feet, and then they mechanically scrape the interior of the pipe and scrape all of that tuberculation off, and then they run through with a concrete, with a cement lining. So the pipe on the left, the coupon on the left, shows a pipe that was previously tuberculated but now has a nice cement lining. So you can see that that's very similar to the pipe in the middle, which is a coupon from a pipe that we would install today. Typically, we would install a ductile iron pipe is common, and it has its own cement lining. So you can see it kind of restores the pipe back to almost new. If we go to the next slide. The next is focusing on parallel main abandonment. So, I'd mentioned that hydraulically, the system is strong, pipes are really appropriately sized, but in some areas there are two pipes in parallel to each other. So this is a little snapshot of this condition in Powder Mill Road, where you can see the red represents a 6-inch pipe, but probably later in time, a 12-inch pipe was installed, the blue color. And instead of moving all of the water services for all of the properties along Powder Mill, a bigger pipe was just put in, and all of the services remain on the smaller pipe. Probably it was a cost-saving measure at the time, but what we really recommend is, oftentimes that smaller pipe ends up being tuberculated, like we saw on the last slide. So what we're recommending is to abandon the older, smaller water main and move all of those water services from, in this case, the 6-inch over to the 12-inch main. So it is a bit disruptive from a construction standpoint because you have to open cut and access the pipe in order to run those services, but it's really just a better way to sort of run the water system and can prevent discolored water complaints that you might have from that older tuberculated pipe.
So right now, sorry, just to interrupt for 1 second. So right now there's water running through both?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we looked at the hydraulics of what if the 6-inch wasn't in service? Does that adversely impact pressures or available fire flows? And the answer to that is no.
So what was the purpose for installing two pipes of parallel?
So they, at the time, I would imagine that they knew that they needed more pipe capacity, and it would be easier to just put a 12-inch right down the road without making that extra step of connecting all the services in. Because the mainline work could happen, 200 feet a day, maybe they could put in, but the services maybe only get 3 or 4 a day. So that just lengthens the amount of construction duration, which also means the cost goes up.
For example, like that services the end of town where that vacant Stratus building is, so it could have been potentially when they built that development, they realized they didn't have enough capacity in the 6-inch, so they installed another main to feed that into the property and then looped them at the end.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, the next slide. So another component is, that we're recommending is valve investigations and replacements. So we, the photo there, the little snapshot shows the circles represent locations where gate valves are located. And so gate valves are used to isolate portions of the water system. So say there's a break, you can close the valves in order to isolate the break location, go in and do a repair. It's a little challenging to see all the circles on top of each other because you can imagine at, say, an intersection, there might be a pipe going down the side street and a pipe in the main road, and there would be 3 valves at that location. They all are physically pretty close together, and these are spatially located where they actually exist. So when we zoom in, they're kind of all clustered together on top of each other, but in reality, they're maybe 3 to 5 feet apart from each other in the street. So during our hydraulic model development and calibration, we found areas where it appears that valves are broken closed, and we also got feedback from DPW that there's known locations within the water system right now where there are valves that are broken. So we're recommending that a valve replacement program be done, and that valve replacement is not the easiest. While it's a smaller task. You're really just excavating, removing the existing valve and putting a new one in. It does cause impact to the residents in that we have to isolate the whole area in order for the pipe to be able to be drained and offline in order to do the work. So depending on how things are scheduled, it could mean that people have to go on to bypass. So their water service has to be fed from farther outside of the isolated area. So it's not the easiest thing to do. So we're recommending that this be looked at and evaluated and consider maybe doing it as a capital project as opposed to more of a maintenance activity for DPW. So
are we satisfied at this point? Historically, we had some real questions. It appeared at times that Maynard didn't know where all of our valves were.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them ended up being underneath trees and, underneath 5 levels of sidewalk. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they never found them and the water would just continue to bubble up. Are we satisfied now that we've been able to map these to where do we know where all of our valves are?
The mapping is pretty good, but we are recommending another layer of investigation. And we're recommending doing a valve exercising program. So that is not only going out in the field and verifying that, that all the locations that we see here, we can actually find in the field, but then also understanding, do they operate? So that work can be done with DPW forces, but it can also be outsourced to companies that sort of specialize in that. And what they'll do is they'll go out and get on each valve and try to turn it to see if they can get a closure on it. And then they record that data and they record the location of it. And then once they're done with their investigation, then that gives us a very strong map and assessment of all the valves in the system. And then that you can kind of feed into a capital plan of addressing them. So I think the mapping's pretty good. It's not 100%, but we also want to make sure that just because a map shows that there's a valve there, can we actually find it in the field? And sometimes those things get paved over, things like that. So It would be kind of a comprehensive look at that, also looking at operability.
I think there was also in the past issues where the DPW would rush out to a water main break and they'd go to the valve, which was properly mapped, surprise, surprise, because, this is old time. They found it and then they'd turn it and it would break.
Yes.
So then they'd have to find where's the next valve and they'd run down the street to try to find the next level and that would become the same, the same game.
And what you'll find is that the situation here in Maynard is not unique. Operating valves and doing kind of quote unquote maintenance on those valves is risky because of exactly what you just talked about, right? You go out, say in a planned fashion, DPW could go out and check these valves in some periodic kind of format. But the challenge is every time you operate it, you better have budget and resources available to repair it if it breaks closed when you're trying to operate it. So doing it kind of in a planned fashion where there's resources and money available to kind of address those things when they're found is really the best approach. So what we're sort of recommending is doing this comprehensive approach, and then once you have confidence in the valve's ability to operate and to turn appropriately, then you can feel comfortable sending your crews out there in a planned kind of maintenance fashion and operate them. And, do that, say, annually to get on at least key valves to make sure that they operate.
Regardless, this is a huge improvement over what we had
Yes.
even a decade ago, when the DPW director at the time would come in and say, well, we have the card downstairs that shows us where the valve is for that particular street or location, and then you would get we lost the card. So,
Yeah, in the chaos of the repair and that kind of stuff.
Whatever,
Yes,
no, somebody
yes.
didn't put it back or
Yep.
whatever, and the card
Right.
was missing. So
Yeah. Yep.
this is a huge improvement.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then if we go to the next slide, this is a map that generally shows the water distribution system improvements. So obviously we're not showing valves at this kind of scale on the map, but what we've shown here is we have a couple of different color coding, and I've gone in and sort of labeled the streets. So the yellow highlights indicate pipes that are more transmission system improvements. So those are locations where we're recommending upsizing of pipes. The pink areas are locations where the pipe is unlined cast iron, and we're recommending addressing that through a lining, a cleaning and cement lining. And then the green locations are where there's those parallel pipes, maybe a smaller pipe in parallel with a larger pipe, and we're recommending abandoning the smaller pipe and moving all those services off of it. So I did just want to point out, while we were kind of working on the study, we identified Powder Mill as a location where there was some opportunity for maybe improvement on the water main. And since there was ongoing sewer work that was sort of happening, we were able to kind of address those in tandem. And we actually removed a portion of our recommendation from the report because we were able to get that work done in concert with the ongoing work. So it was well-timed in that we could kind of do that and didn't have to come in. We're not making a recommendation later that says your newly paved road needs to be excavated.
That was good
right?
thinking.
Yeah, yeah. So it worked out very well.
Yeah, that was actually the conflict that we had where the
How long it was taking?
proposed sewer main
Oh.
installation was in conflict with the existing water main.
Yeah.
So it's kind of two birds with one stone.
That's good.
And so then the last slide may be a little difficult to read, but it's essentially a list.
It's not difficult when you go to the bottom.
Right, you can just look at the bottom line,
difficult
and I put
when
it
you
in
go to the
larger
bottom.
font on the left there. So overall, we're recommending $7 million of water distribution system improvements. We, from a priority standpoint, we think that the valves it actually ends up, the valve items end up being sort of shorter. They're actually smaller dollar amounts, but I think have a really a large impact. And so those would really be first priority. And then we sort of recommend that the rest of these improvements be looked at when any other infrastructure projects are happening in different roads. So if you're going to be paving a road, for example, consult the mapping for the water system. Is that a recommendation to move forward? Maybe do those in parallel. Same thing with sewer, for example. So while they are all important and should be done kind of on a reasonable time horizon, none of these things have to be done tomorrow. They just need to be planned for in a comprehensive way, sort of moving forward, say, over the next 10 or so years.
But obviously, the cost is as of today, so the
Correct.
cost could definitely go
Yes.
up.
Well,
Yes.
and the additional concern that I have from a macro standpoint of the water system itself is, as we know, we've had some issues with our wells, and
Yeah.
so the talk is of White's Pond is
Yes.
the avenue, and White's Pond's project is on top of this, and we've got $6.9 million here, $7 million here, and the White's Pond project is at least that much.
Correct.
So we're looking at possibly a $14 to $20 million exposure that we have as a community relative to our water alone. We're not talking sewer yet. Water alone that we need to plan for as a community, and that's the discussion that this town needs to have about how we're going to plan, and people can't shy away from it. It needs to be talked about when we're looking at the cost of living here in Maynard.
Yeah, and I did just want to reiterate that, you know, the supply side challenges that you're seeing are more of a priority than these distribution system, these pipe improvements that we're talking about. So certainly, you know, when you have limited dollars and where to spend it, the supply, you know, that side of things is more important. This is stuff that should be done on a reasonable time horizon, but not as critical, say, as the supply.
And again, like you said, to keep in mind, you know, going forward with different projects, that, you
Right.
know, we can have
That's a-
this, that way, if you are gonna do different work, we can keep that in mind.
Yeah, and maximize the dollars that you're spending.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yep.
From an operations standpoint, you know, we had mentioned just before that the broken valve replacement is definitely a top priority, because when we have the older pipes, getting control when we have a water break is the most difficult thing that we have. If we have a broken valve in the field, and we have to expand the search to find the valves that will shut down and isolate the area, it becomes a struggle. And in addition, Eric had mentioned in an intersection, ideally you have 3 valves, so you can isolate a specific length of roadway. Our system, in some areas, was built with only 1 valve. So now that, again, if we have a break in an area, we are not able to control it as easily, and then we have to expand our search for a valve that will actually shut it down and isolate it. More customers become impacted, and it extends the duration of an outage or a repair. So, and then in addition to that, Mass DEP has recommended that we implement a valve exercising program. And as Erica stated, that's something that could be done in-house, but with our limited manpower and staff, it's something it really should be outsourced. It's not as easy as going and turning on and off a valve that you have in your basement. These valves can be 5 feet below grade, and oftentimes they're in the roadway, so when you pop the cover, it's 5 feet of dirt that you have to blow out of there and to clean it. And then once you drop the wrench on it, it's a two employee operation to turn these valves. And if you turn it, you could snap it. There are contract services that are out there, and the larger departments that perform these often use a trailer type of apparatus that has pressure sensors and machined in. It's automated equipment that actually will go turn the valve, and it will sense if there's too much pressure or if the valve's about to break and let off, which obviously a person is not able to do. So that's something that would be recommended to be a contracted service to come out, do the valve exercising program, and implement that on a kind of an annual basis. Similar to what we do for fire flow and hydrant flushing, you know, we select specific hydrants, we outsource that.
So is that something that has never been done in the past? Is that what you do?
As the valve exercising?
Valve exercise.
Correct. We don't currently have a valve exercising program, and it's not something that has been done in.
And that's the cost of 55,000 that's being,
That's an estimated cost to implement that.
to implement that.
Right.
That's an annual fee?
Is that an annual? Yeah.
So that, you know, the priority would be to repair the broken valves,
Yeah.
insert additional valves where we don't already have 3 valves at an intersection, so we can, you know, maximize our control of the system.
Does that include cleaning of the tubercle or whatever valve it's called?
No, so the tuberculation is more just in the pipes itself, but
Oh, okay.
but the service that they do provide, they do, you know, the valve box, the access to the operating nut, it gets filled with dirt, so they do have the ability to vac out that in order to be able to operate it fully. And safety procedures too, you know, they're operating in the middle of the roadway, you know, making sure that that setup is safe.
So we have so this is a presentation, it's accompanied with a very comprehensive report that we have, PDF of which will be sent to the town administrator for distribution to the board. So there's a number of maps, recommendations, tables that go into a lot of the specifics.
Which I'll be sure to read someday, but I really am having trouble.
So it would, to your point, can you do a summary page based on what you think would be, just for us, priority-wise, if we were to implement any of these recommendations?
So in terms of priority, you know.
I'm just saying when the report goes
So in the
in.
report, there is a.
There is something like that in there?
Yeah, I think it's like section 7 is
Oh,
the
okay.
recommendations. If you
All
go to
right,
the
cool.
back, section 7,
Nice.
it's all the tables, it's all the
Well,
recommendations.
you know where he'll be turning.
Yeah, I'll turn.
That's great.
Thank you for the
Yeah, thank you.
summary.
Thank you for the
Yes.
information. We were friends until you got to 6.9.
Did I bury the
We were
lead?
getting along so well.
Yep.
But thank you very much for
Thank
your
you,
time.
yes, very much so.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Time for some library talk.
Yay.
can sit up front, Sally. I met a-
Aw, come on.
I actually have to leave in 15
Oh.
minutes, so.
I met a friend of yours, the realtor, blonde-haired, Malone, Selectman Malone.
From what town?
We were in Lancaster. My son was looking at a house. She told me to tell you, your house in Acton is going up for sale.
Oh my gosh, I don't know who this is.
I have to find out. I kept her card, but I didn't know I'd see you, so I didn't see it. We were talking, and she said, I have a great friend in Maynard, and she said your name, and we talked for a little while, but she told me to make sure I tell you,
Lori McGee?
yes.
Lori McGee?
Yes, Lori McGee, yes.
From the swimming McGee family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, she's married to Jim.
Oh, okay.
So, anyways, she wanted me to make sure I told you your house is going up on the market. Your old house is going on the market.
Welcome home, Sal.
A lot of fun, yeah. Good evening, sir. Back again this year.
Well, thanks for inviting us again.
Thanks for coming.
And I'm here tonight with two of the trustees, that's Sally Bouvier and Ken Rosenberg. And
Thank you for
Peter
coming.
is the third trustee, but he had to work tonight. So what I thought I'd do is give you an overview of the library and describe some of the services we offer, and then answer any questions that you have.
Thank you.
So the library first opened in 1881. It was where Yarmouth is now, and it was actually a gift to the town from the Reed family, and it started with their own collection of 1,000 books. And it's been in a lot of locations over the years. It was where the Bean House is. It was on another location on Nation Street, and it was where the police station is, and now it's back on Nation Street. And at this point, I don't think it's moving again. Here we
I think that's a good assumption.
80,200 items. When we built the building, it was projected we could hold 72,000 items. So what we're estimating right now is that we can actually add another 10,000 items. But once we do that, when we get to 90, we need to do a stress test on the building because book weight is 140 pounds per square foot. So, and we have 5,000 card holders and just 4,342 are Maynard residents. And the building is 24,000 square feet. We're governed by the Board of Trustees. And the state has very rigorous rules about libraries and laws about libraries. And one of the things libraries have to have is a plan the state approves of. The plan has to be updated every year. It has to be revised every 5 years. So we're currently in year 4 of a 5-year plan. And what we do then is identify what we're doing well and what we're not doing well and where we need to grow. So in our last plan, we identified 2 major needs where the library needs. We really needed to anticipate growth. And one was that we needed to beef up our technology aspect because technology becomes such a big part of what we do. I mean, in terms of my career, it's astronomical the way the libraries have changed technologically. And what we've done in that regard is we've revised the job description and we've hired a person to address that need. So we haven't had the need to add staff or request new staff for that, which is something we thought we would do maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, but we've been able to do that without coming to you and asking for more staff. And the other need that we identified was, because of all the programs in town, because of the programs the library itself does, and the Friends do, and the community does, we need someone that would actually work with these different groups and facilitate the program in the library. And we've been able to do the same thing in that way. We've been able to do that by using someone who works in the library without having to add staff. Our staff size is 7.5 full-time employees, and the state recommends that it's 1 full-time employee per 1,000 residents. So we're getting there, but we have a little ways to go to meet the state recommendation. That's not a requirement, which is lucky. Okay, there are state requirements that we do have to satisfy, and one of them is that we have to be open, as a community of this size, has to be open 40 hours a week. We're currently open 46 hours a week now. We've opened on Wednesday nights. The town appropriation has to increase by a minimum of 2.5% annually, and we're very fortunate here that the town has been more generous than that. I mean, in the 20 budget, the budget increased to 3.6, so that's something that the town is supposed to be commended for. We also have to expend the equivalent of 16% of the town's appropriation on materials, meaning books, DVDs, things that you can physically hold. And that's, so in our case, that comes to about $85,000 a year. And we have to loan items to other communities that are certified. Okay, if we do these things, the state rewards us by giving us an award. In our case, because of the size of our community, the annual award is about $14,000. They also have a whole bunch of small grants that libraries can apply for, and we generally do, and these range from $5,000 to $7,500. You've seen them, like we'll have a senior program, or that kind of thing. And the good thing, I mean, these are small awards, but the good thing is if you keep doing this and playing this game with them and working with them, eventually you need some real money, like we did when we built the library, and we got $2 million. So that's what makes those little things worth it, because they're very cumbersome to administrate. The budget for this year is $524,005, and we get a small award from the Cultural Council, and the Friends of the Library also supplement us to a great degree. They're the people that buy the museum passes, and we currently have a larger collection of museum passes than any of our neighboring communities, and that's really because the Friends are so proactive in that area. Okay, for 18, a circulation was just over 270,000, and I've outlined specifically what went out, but the two things here are one, that the digital circulation is increasing every single month, as you would expect, but the other thing that's important to note is that the state average for library borrowing per resident is 7 items per resident, and in Maynard it's 9. So we're above the state average there. And the other thing that we do is we offer programs, and we offer 6 children's programs a week. We offer approximately 14 programs over the course of a month for adults and teens, and then in addition to the 6 a month. And we also hold our book festival, our summer concert, and we hold a Comic-Con, okay. Now we're going to come to what is probably has become the most cumbersome part of the library program and the most exciting, which is the meeting rooms. Okay. We now, in 2017, we had 401 meetings. Okay, in 18 we had 576. We've already passed 576 now, and we still have 2 months left to go. We do this by the fiscal year. We have 2 months to go until July, and we've already surpassed the 18 number. It's just, the need for these is inexhaustible. And we also hold tutoring sessions. We have ELL classes there. It's the ways that the community has found ways to use the library as a place to come together and learn and use it as a starting point. It's just endless at this point. It's just insurmountable. Which brings me to where I think that we really need to think about growth in the library. Now, I said earlier that we had dedicated staff time to manage these programs, and that's basically myself and another staff member. But the way things are going in terms of the needs that these people have for meetings in these groups, in terms of setting up, takedown, preparation, and all that kind of stuff, we may need another part-time position just to manage all these meetings. Let somebody go work nights, say, to set up the rooms like we have a janitor. We don't have that kind of thing, or somebody to make sure the technology is accessible. I'm not looking at it for 2020, but at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a discussion we're having in FY21, because if it keeps going like this, we're going to break 700 meetings a year. Now, you're talking about a building that's open 292 days. So it's just not something that our staff we never anticipated we would need to accommodate that. And I see that as probably the most immediate future need. And that really concludes my comments. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
So, when you talk about the stress testing the building,
Right.
the electronic meter and those things, does that lessen the stress?
I'm sorry?
Does that lessen the stress, the electronic meter, DVDs and all those other things? Does that tend to?
Well, book weight is 140 pounds per square foot.
Yeah,
So at this point, it's not an issue. As long as we keep weeding, keep it down.
right. But I'm saying, going forward, do those type of media that you have available in the library, does that lessen, eventually, will that lessen the stress?
Well, it lessens compared to a book.
Compared to a regular book, yeah, that's my point. Are we going more in that direction, away from the heavier things to the lighter?
I would have thought so about 10 years ago, but it hasn't been the case. The need for physical books is actually increasing, and it's all these articles about how electronics is going to replace that, and that hasn't been the case. And it's not the case other places. It's not just Maynard.
Right, okay. That was really the question, so.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, and I'm always looking for, opportunities for generating some revenue for situations that are in need. And I'm wondering, is it at all illegal to charge a user fee for a meeting so that you have revenue in order to pay for people to pick up and set up and whatever? I know it's a public library. It's a public resource that we're already paying for through our taxes. So I hate the idea of it. But if you're saying you're going to need an additional staff member somewhere down the road, where are we going to find the revenue for that? So that I'm trying to think of potential.
Why don't I look into that? But because that's a question I've never gotten.
And I don't want to stifle meetings.
Do
I
other
mean,
libraries, to his point, do other libraries maybe charge for meeting rooms?
No,
Probably,
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Well, I should clarify that. We charge for meeting if there's a fee associated with the meeting itself. So if someone's, doing a demo, hoping to draw some clients, there's a fee. But, if the Girl Scouts meet in there, there's no fee.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to do it to the Girl
Right.
Scouts. That's the.
Are there non-Maynard groups using the library?
There are.
Would it be possible to charge a fee to out of town people using the library?
We could look into that. Part of the problem is that to become certified, the services have to be open to anyone in the state. So,
okay.
but as I said, we've never looked into that. I can do that.
Sally had a point.
Oh, I just want to say just what a vibrant place the library is, any night that it's open. And you think about charging, and there was a young dads group that meets regularly, and there's groups that aren't, the Maynard Anti-Racism Alliance, these aren't groups that have fun, so it's, and it just
that's the
brings
difficulty.
so much vitality to the library to see, kids walking in their pajamas, and then, young dads walking in with their baby things, and then the soccer group is meeting, and then there's, some open mic, session. It's just, it's really in place of a community center. Our library is our community center. So you think, you could build a $10 million community center, or you can just figure out how to keep the library to do that function.
The only building in town that people complain about when it's closed is the library. Sometimes town hall, but typically it's the library. Why is the library closed?
But that's a good point regarding community center, because that is what is taking place off right now.
It's cheaper to
Yeah,
invest in
exactly.
the library.
That's a good point.
Anyone else, anything else?
No?
Well, we
Thank-
thank you again
thank
this
you
year
very
for
much.
coming in and
Thank you
filling
very
us in on where the library is. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sally. Thank you. Motions and presented. Motions and presentations for the annual town meeting.
Do we still have the other thing? Oh, no, we just have that. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
You're good.
So Becky, you've narrowed it down to 15 items among the five of us. I wonder, one of the questions is, do we know we don't really know yet what of these items he's gonna plan to put in the consent agenda.
Tuesday.
He wasn't, he didn't, you're referring to
I
the
mean,
town moderator.
we can assign these and then adjust going forward, but, I know that there's several of these he's gonna try and pop into a consent agenda, the night of town meetings.
He indicated he would, but he didn't tell us what. And so just for the audience, we're talking about town moderator Dick Downey. And what Becky was referring to is the preparation meeting on the scheduled for the 14th for town meeting.
Yeah.
I would anticipate he would put 2, 4, possibly even 5, although that could generate some discussion because it's money related. Is there any particular item on this list of 15 that any particular person would like to speak about as opposed to any others? Other than Justine wants to speak about marijuana. Because that's your article, I believe.
I kind of do.
All right, so Justine is at number 8, which is Article 11, is Justine, because that's her, the article that she was part of creating. Okay, so we discussed me presenting your article, Luke? Yes. Or me introducing you, whichever you prefer. So, you know, we're happy to present it if you'd like us to, and then you can take over the conversation part, which there'll be many people taking a part in the conversation, so. However you prefer to do that. So I'll put my name next to it, and then we'll figure that out over the next couple of weeks, exactly how we're gonna have that conversation.
Kinda knew it, so.
Yeah, I know.
So am I.
All right, anybody,
I'll take home rule if nobody's interested.
home rule, which is number 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do 6, 7, and 8 if you want to. There are 3 MGL acceptance.
No,
5, 6, 7?
right, no, but articles 5, 6, 7, 8.
Numbers, yep.
Okay.
It's even like a good move because you don't have to get up and sit down 3 times.
I'll do 1 through 4, because usually they end up all at once, so, yeah. Well, no, but it's just you're just there for the whole first few things, it's all,
Which one are you doing?
the first 4.
First 4.
Okay.
Does anybody have an interest in the water enterprise and sewer enterprise budget funds?
I don't mind doing it. I don't know if interest is the right word, but.
I'll share it with you.
Okay, yeah, we can co-present it. You want to do that?
Well, I say we can split it. I'll do one, she can do the other.
All right, so I'll put you guys down for
I'll
those
take
two.
water if you want sewer.
All right, I got sewer.
That was
That goes with the marijuana.
Exactly.
nice.
I guess I could do the 12 and 13.
Looks that way.
Yeah.
All right,
And I can take 14 as my third just because I'm going to be up there for 15.
well, you'll actually be up to 14, so you can do 15.
Okay, I'm sorry, so, Selectman Deepakarian, did you just say you want to do?
12 and 13?
12 and 13.
We're looking at
So,
it, we're
yeah.
not doing the article numbers, we're doing
Oh, I'm
the,
sorry.
Correct.
the
So
line
which-
item numbers.
So Article
Line items.
19 and 21.
19 and 20.
So I'll go down,
19 and 21.
Yeah, perfect.
So I'm gonna go down a list, just for one quick time. Myself. David. Justine. Myself. Melissa. Justine. The next 2 are Armand, and the last 2 are Melissa.
Mhm.
Okay. And again, if there's any changes to any of it based on consent, we'll adjust accordingly. All right.
Chris, are you gonna do all the motions for all of these? So you'll be up at the podium the full time, and then the sponsor will come up beside you?
We've done it that way in the past, but we've also done where the person doing the speaking has read the motion as well, so either, that's probably the best.
Okay.
Then only one person has to go up and not bump into each other or anything.
I'm gonna leave a 3-ring binder up there, you just need to turn the page to
Yeah,
wherever I
yeah.
can read off of it.
Well, so we need one to leave there, but we also have to have one to bring to Dick. We have to march one across the stage.
And that's gonna happen right at the beginning of the meeting, the whole series.
We're gonna give him the whole thing at once?
Yep.
He's okay with that this year?
Yes.
There we go.
Because in the past, we've had to do one at a time, correct? Okay.
I'm sure we'll talk about it again on Tuesday.
It's gonna be a timing.
And
Yeah, no problem.
Greg, if we,
That's-
if I want to set up a time to come in and just make sure I have full
Please do.
understanding of
Please,
Same with me.
absolutely. You know where I work?
No?
Oh, down the hall.
And Armin, Jack McKean said that you're his backup?
Yes,
If he
for
doesn't
that,
get
yeah,
back from his trip in time?
Right.
So you'll have all those too? Okay, perfect.
All right. Okay, and I assume Bill Coleman's doing the rest.
Right, exactly.
And Greg DeZulo.
Yeah, yeah.
Jack's doing the one. Yeah.
Okay. Make a motion to move to appoint the following members to the Disabled and Elderly Taxation Relief Fund Committee: Kevin Peterson, Deborah Mealy, Cheryl Kane, and Stephen Pomfret, all with a term expiring on December 31st, 2020. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is this,
So this is in follow-up to what the treasurer collector, Cheryl Kane, mentioned, what she presented to the board. It's just in follow-up to what was already approved at town meeting last year.
okay.
So one thing I noticed is I think all of them, maybe Stephen's not, most of them are town employees?
They are. That would not be my first choice, admittedly, but they are residents. So-
Right.
Steve is also a member of the assessors.
That's
Of
right.
assessors. I don't know if that matters, but.
Well, there was, I think
That
the
was
state
right.
has a requirement as to who has to sit on it.
Right.
And I don't remember if it's Board of Assessor, but definitely the chief assessor needs to be on it.
She's not.
Oh, then rather the
The treasurer.
treasurer needs to be
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I understand that ideally I would prefer residents at large to not also be town employees, just to make sure that it's separate. But Cheryl and I discussed this, and I was okay with these three,
Okay,
at least for the initial appointment.
all right.
That's only two now.
This group will really just be devising the program, and building it up rather than,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
All right. And does anyone have any other questions about the formation of this, to get it started? This is what this does.
Can I ask one more time, how long they're, oh, so never got it, 2020.
December 31st, 2020.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Anything else, anybody? Okay, then, all those in favor? Thank you. I want to read the next piece of business, which is the motions for the reserve fund transfers that we have before us this evening. And the actions are, a motion to accept and approve the reserve fund transfer in the amount of $5,207 for account number 001.050.530003.0000. Unforeseen when an employee left and we used a consultant to fill in the role for conservation. Second motion is to accept and approve the reserve fund transfer in the amount of $15,000 for account 001.091.517002.0000. Unemployment cost. School, food services laid off all of the employees and a new company was contracted to take over. And these are the additional unemployment costs, correct? Okay. Third is a motion to accept and approve the reverse reserve fund transfer in the amount of $41,256 for account number 001.091.517002.000. I'm sorry, that's the wrong number. I read the wrong number, yeah, it's for .001.0945.574000.0000 which is liability insurance due to additional workman compensation and bond and public safety. And the final one is a motion to accept and approve the reserve fund transfer in the amount of $42,378 for account number 001.042.570.113.0000, which is a municipal separate storm sewer MS4 funds. Do you have seconds for all of them?
Second.
Thank
I
you.
just have a question relative to the way the motion is written, relative to the fact that, in effect, we're just notifying the Finance Committee that we've been advised of these reserve fund transfer requests. We're not approving anything.
No, you're right. You can't approve it, so it's up
Correct.
to you're correct. You were approving it that I have
We're
recommended.
approving,
that
we're
Proving that you're recommending to forward it.
Not
Yeah.
the actual
acknowledging the request for the transfer.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it makes any difference, but I just want to make it clear that we're not approving the reserve fund transfer by this vote. That's the role of the Finance Committee, and our role is merely just to say we are acknowledging that it's going to them.
Right. But in essence, if you acknowledge it, allowing us to forward it to the reserve, for the Finance Committee, then you're hoping it's approved.
Oh, right, absolutely.
That's
I'm
their
hoping
call.
it's a-
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not even hoping it's approved. I have one question, and maybe someone can answer. Do the unemployment costs for the school food services, the company that they laid off the employees and when they went to a third party, I would assume that, would we charge those back to the school at some point?
We never have.
So we have certain shared costs. Insurance is one of those.
But I don't understand that.
Unemployment, but, but, right,
They
but.
made a unilateral decision. They made a
So-
unilateral decision to lay off those people and go in a different direction.
Oh, I wasn't familiar with that. So,
So they made a decision to go third party with the food service.
right. Without,
Right, so, well, without who they asked or what they did, it's a school committee, they do what they want.
true.
Type of thing, use that type of thinking, right? But when you make that type of decision, you ought to know when you lay 15 people off, or 10 people off, or 5 people off, or 2 people off. There's an unemployment cost associated to that
Sure.
that's known before you do it. How is it a reserve fund transfer? You should know as part of that decision to go third party that you're gonna have these costs. That's not necessarily my opinion, in my opinion only, an accommodated cost typical of insurance, taxes, and all those other things. It's a known cost before you make the decision. It should be part of the cost of the decision, not a reserve fund transfer.
I mean, I don't disagree, but
When they laid off teachers, and they knew they were laying off teachers, we also incurred the cost.
That's a completely
Yeah, but
different
that's totally,
situation.
that's different,
just asking.
At the
yeah.
end of it, if you have to lay off a teacher because you find and you determine at point X in the timeline that you don't have
Yeah.
the funds to support a certain level of
Different,
staffing,
yeah.
that's a different thing. That the DPW could face the same thing, and so could anybody else. But when you sit down as a board or a group and make a conscious decision to go to a third party, that's a price and that's a cost that's included in there.
Yeah, you would think that that would have been
No.
part of their analysis.
No, I agree, I'm just,
Oh.
you know, but before I go, say, next year or whatever, we push back. I want,
Well, I'm just saying,
It's not the
you know,
pushback, to Chris's point. I think that was a decision made on their behalf without even thinking out what the consequences are.
But even if
So-
they did think it out, like, I still don't understand why the town should absorb that hit. If they're
Exactly.
making the conscious decision to employ a third party because it's gonna save them $20,000 a year going
If it
forward.
did,
But for
if
the
it did.
first
We don't
year-
even know if it did.
But I'm just saying, but for the first year, they have to incur $15,000 in unemployment costs. That should
Right.
come out of the school's budget.
Correct.
And the fact that there wasn't even a conversation with the town about, this is what we
Correct.
plan on doing.
They just made that decision on
You
their
would-
own.
You would think, again, it would have been part of their analysis of the cost, the return on investment, so to say, of if we do this, how will this impact our budget, not how will it impact.
there's always a cost to doing business, but there's usually a greater cost to not doing business.
Right.
If you're doing business a certain way for
Well, I
20 years and you
think
change.
you're making a point where, I don't know if they know how to run a business, but that's the difference.
It's a conversation for another day.
That's a different day.
But going forward, going forward in in a business sense, you know, the suggestion over several months now and for quite some time is, we're operating a business. And if you're operating a business, you know, there's a business office within the schools, or there should be, right? There's a business part of that thing. That's has to be a consideration in the future when you make a decision like that. And, you know, I understand that, you know, the bill's been submitted to the town has to pay the bill, but going forward, there should be a conversation when these things take place. When we outsource anything in town, you know, that's part of the cost. A part of not doing business is a cost.
Right.
And that's unemployment
Well, I think
insurances and others.
To your issue too, is that one of the things we found over, you know, since I've been here, is that we know that when we, for instance, if we were to add an employee or employee with to leave or whatever, we would look at the health insurance of what that cost would be, so that we would in effect, let's say we're adding two individuals, make sure the health insurance would be there to cover that.
Right, so when the school gives, they give us a bottom line budget, but I ask how many employees they want to hire too. So, because of the accommodated costs. Mr. Chairman, you do not have to submit, you don't, to Selectman Gavin's point originally, you don't have to accept this as my recommendation. You just don't. I mean, we could just give it for the schools to give their own request for $15,000. You know, they could be the sponsor, so to speak, of the reserve fund transfer request, and then argue to the finance committee themselves. I think that's more than appropriate.
You know, it's not the $15,000. To Chris's point, it's just a matter of principle.
I understand that,
and I think
I can't speak to the situation at hand because I wasn't there.
I think it's the $15,000 too.
It's a little. It's still. To be honest, it's a little of both, because, you know, we you know, from where we sit, there's a constant back and forth, and there's 6 people that sit on the budget subcommittee that do a great job, have been doing a great job for 2 years to try and get these things in line and get these things in order.
Sure.
And whether it's us or whether it's some other body, there's constantly questions in the community, you know, that are, you know, basically questions that are created by conversations at the school committee meetings and whatnot, where the finger is pointed into this room as to we're not providing enough for the schools, we're not doing enough in certain people's opinions.
Okay.
Well, you know, certain people are making these types of decisions without any respect given to the fact that this is going to be another cost to the town of Maynard.
Right.
That's not going to come out of the school budget, it's going to come out of the town budget, which means at some point it's going to come out of another department's budget.
Which is why
And
I
that's-
recommend.
And that's the
the
point
school-
of, that's a discussion that needs to take place at some time.
Okay.
And we've been talking about it for several years, that when you get to the end of the day, you have the school budget, but let's have a conversation later about what are those accommodated costs and what is the true school budget.
Sure.
Because the true school budget doesn't say X millions of dollars and that's all it is. There's, you know, there's
Right.
OPEB expenses
Yeah.
towards the schools, there's insurances, there's, you know, other types of things that are, you know,
Fixed.
fixed.
Yeah,
So,
right.
you know,
That's what we're dealing with right
it's-
now. So again, my recommendation is for the board to consider not accepting this and to have the school committee defend this request on their own.
I'm just thinking from a process standpoint, and as I understand the reserve fund transfer process, is that there is no requirement other than notifying the board that it's going through, the Board of Selectmen. So the Board of Selectmen can be notified, but we can then, as part of our duty, send to the Finance Committee our concern
Okay.
that there's an issue with this particular transfer, here's our concern, and then it's within their purview on reserve fund transfers to make a decision. It's not ours, and it's not, you know, the school committees, it's
That's a
the
good point.
Finance Committees alone. And Ken wants to speak.
yes, sir.
Who are you?
Ken Escobar, Chair of Finance Committee. So I think Greg's idea is probably.
Ken, can you stand at the mic, just so TV can pick it up, because I've heard people in the audience speak and nobody can hear.
Ken Estabrook, Chair of the Finance Committee. So I think Greg's idea has merit. You know, if he brings it forward in its current configuration, then it's really going to be the town that's essentially explaining it. And as you all know, the school committee is going to be in front of us with a number of other reserve fund transfers, so it's not like they're going to have to make a special trip in just for this one. So that's what I would add
I
to
mean,
it.
you know, in following along with the conversations that we've had as two boards and whatnot, I mean, we certainly trust that you guys are going to have your say in this particular request, so. I'm
I actually
comfortable with
think,
it.
I think your point is a great point.
Yeah.
And we've made that point about a number of the others
Yeah,
that,
I just
that they
think-
brought forward to us. So
I don't want to beat anybody up over it.
your idea
but-
has merit. I think Greg's recommended approach
Dave,
makes a lot of sense.
The only reason I brought it up because unemployment is part of our
Right,
program.
right.
and
It's-
So you guys can do however you want.
And that's true. We have accepted the insurance costs and the unemployment costs
Right, and
as.
that's the only reason I brought it up. I mean.
Right.
You would have no problem with what you've suggested, but I think it's something going forward we should be looking at.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and to the point that's already been made, whether Greg brings it forward with your concerns directly, or it gets kicked back to the school committee and they come forward, either way, if you address the concerns, it's going to be part of the discussion, so.
I just want to get it into the realm of the discussion, that's all really, you know. I don't object to it on the surface, I just object to, you know, the way it seems to be sometimes a cavalier effort, but.
When I spoke to Cheryl about the treasurer, Cheryl Kane, she voiced exactly the same concern.
Okay.
But.
She did.
But you suggest that this is part of a cost that we usually pay, which is fine, and I understand it, but the point being that this is not normal business, this is something different, so.
Right, this was like
And that
an
was-
elective decision
Which
as
is what
opposed
she
to a
said.
necessary
Which is
decision.
what she said, you know.
Yeah.
We,
Okay.
The assumption was that if had this been done through, like, initiated through the town budget subcommittee and then, you know, sort of vetted, you know, more collaboratively, that was my assumption. But that doesn't have to be the case. So, Mr. Chairman, it's up to, you know, to the board, what guidance what direction we want to do with this.
I don't have a problem approving it only because it just gets it in front of the finance committee in the same way.
Yeah, I think there should, like I said earlier, I think if we do, I think.
Yeah, we're not
we
not
just move it
approving the
along when
transfer,
we let
we're
them
just-
know,
right,
and Ken's here, so
exactly.
he
Now he
knows
knows
that we've
how-
got
where we
concerns.
stand.
But whether or not he requires, or would request a formal document that would express our concerns, Ken?
Signed by all of you, please.
All right.
Notarized carbon copy.
We got it.
So you're good with just knowing what our concerns are and relaying those to your team and,
Thank you, sir. Okay, so any other questions on the other three fund transfers? All right, all those in favor? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Next time you're hanging around, let me know. I'll put you on the agenda at 7.
Right.
We'll get you home early. Thank you. Chairman's report, not the chairman's report, the TA report.
TA report.
We've read it, we've all seen it. Thank you. You know, you have one comment, there's one comment that didn't make it to the report that's on the bottom of.
Yes,
It's on the
that's right.
detailed agenda, so I don't know if everyone sees the detailed agenda. But it discusses the town administrator's office has received a request from the Acton, Boxborough, Maynard, Pan Mass Challenge kids.
Yeah,
They're going to place a sandwich board on the island, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Wait, so just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, I wasn't familiar with what the town's policy, I'm speaking for, again, Assistant Town Administrator Megan Zamuto on this one, but we looked at it, we weren't sure if there had been precedent set for setting up signage on town-owned property like the roundabout. So just, you know, if you don't have any objections, that's easy, but if you have any concerns or anything beyond the detail that Megan put there, we can talk about it now.
No, it's fine,
That's all.
it's fine.
All right.
I mean, is that it?
The rest of the report is lengthy, and I appreciate my staff putting it together.
I have a quick question about planning, zoning, economic development. You have listed, or Bill or Caitlin or whoever put it together, that Mass Wellspring anticipated one more planning board hearing, and then it said next planning board hearing is 5/14/19, and Green Star Herbals is planning on opening a hearing at 5/5/14.
Same day.
So is it the same, so they are doing both of those on the same day? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
It's a packed agenda on the 14th.
Excellent.
Yeah, that includes McDonald's buildings too, right? Think so.
That's gonna be a long meeting.
She's not in
Oh,
there?
Yes, it
42, yeah,
does.
42 Summer Street.
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna be a,
Busy agenda. Okay.
Busy planning board agenda. Glad they have them too.
It's a good thing. You want a
See-
busy planning board.
Yeah, Michael Utley just
We don't
bringing
want a big
time.
board.
Yeah.
I have a question, just whether you know or not. It's private property, so, who knows if anybody's spoken to the community, the town about it. The abandoned X building that's on River Street, when you go down, that they knocked down.
Yeah.
Has there been anybody talking about what their plans might be for that particular location?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Do you know that the McDonald Development Corporation bought it? Jimmy bought
Yeah,
it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't anticipate.
He's the one who tore it down. So I mean, so you're right. So if you look at past history of the sort of buildings he likes to build, I think that'd give you a good indication what he's going to do.
Well, it's not gonna be a marijuana retail store.
It's not that big an area, is it? I don't know.
It's not that big.
That won't stop.
It's not that big, and it's right on the river.
Waterfront, yeah, so
Yeah,
he's got
yeah.
the setback requirements from the,
And he
He
yeah.
could 40B it though.
So he's been working closely with both Rick Asman, the building commissioner, and Bill Nemser, just to make sure that what they do is, and Caitlin Young, because it is next to the water. I mean, so to Jimmy's credit and the rest of his team, they've been working pretty well with the staff here to make sure that what they do is like it's proper. I have the same curiosity, and I guess what he's probably going to build there.
whatever goes there is better than what was there.
Absolutely.
More than likely.
Bring in more revenue.
That's right.
Yeah.
You think so?
Well, they were probably, I don't know if they were paying their
Paying
taxes or
taxes,
not.
yeah.
Becky shakes her head as if,
I don't know. It needed to go.
Yeah, it was ready. It was ready. Before it fell over on somebody.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
That's it?
Unless Megan,
I just have a few items. First being a Weeple. I know the first one is that we met and we joined Congresswoman Trahan the other day, Tuesday?
Yesterday.
Tuesday,
Yes,
yesterday?
Tuesday.
Yeah, yesterday, Tuesday. And she was at the Green Meadow School, and from her office and through her office, I replaced several flags that had been misplaced at the Green Meadow because of the asbestos removal and whatnot. So she came today. It was a nice event. I think all the kindergarten classes were involved, and each of the kindergarten classes got to actually accept a flag and a plaque for their room.
I saw the pictures on the beacon.
Yeah, and then from there, they went to El Huipil, and the restaurant has been recognized as a Small Business of the Year by the United States Small Business Association. And so they had a representative from Washington in Boston here to present that award to El Huipil.
Yeah.
And so just so you guys know, for you, I asked Greg and Becky if they would provide us with a proclamation to present to them at some time once we get it made and signed, and we'll present it to them.
Good
Can we actually go
idea.
there to present it?
You can
Oh, nice, yeah.
do whatever you want.
We coordinate it when they get their second liquor license.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Oh, good
yeah,
idea.
we'll make that
For
a
the
part of
grand opening of the newer restaurant.
Put that in your plan.
come on.
So that, and then the other thing is, per charter, we're required to do a review of the town administrator annually, which we didn't do last year because of the transition situation we were in. So I will get out to everybody in the next week or so. There's Becky had sent me the information, but there's a newer form out that has different headings. Same
Yeah.
headings, but it's a different format where people there's some checkboxes type
we
things.
should make sure everybody's got the same
So I'm gonna
form.
get this, I'm gonna find that one, and I'll send it to you, just to you can double check and make sure that's what we're looking at, and we'll send it out. The one you sent me was just black and white,
Okay.
and the other one that we used last year was kinda had some brown in it. And,
Okay.
you know,
I'll
look,
I
the one we used,
probably have it.
right, the one we used last year, or the last couple of years, looks like it came directly out of the MIA book. You know, it's that type of font and everything else. But we're required to do that, so we'll start that process, and all the rules behind it are included, so we'll get to that. But other than that, that's all I can tell you. I'm done. And now we're on to the other reports, and we will start with Mr. Diabakarian.
All right. First of all, I want to congratulate Lydia Clancy and Natasha Rivera for a new school committee. Congratulations on that. The other piece is it's something that we all probably are thinking about, what transpired in regards to Aaron, about how he went on resigning, and obviously several of us have conversations with him. And for my personal belief, I think that we could have done a better job of supporting him. I don't, believe he should have taken a lot of the blame for what has transpired at the Green Meadow School. And he was put in a position, and I think that probably was one of the reasons why, the major reason why he decided to resign. Even as a selectman, I think we could have done a better job. But I just think in general, from the town administration standpoint, could have done a better job of showing him some support. And I don't know how, but I just think, hopefully we learned our lesson, that we don't allow that to happen again. I think we lost a talented employee. It's going to be tough to replace. And at the same time, I think it gives us an opportunity right now to probably explore alternatives to that position. So I think before we jump the gun and try to put someone, the same type of a person with the same roles and responsibilities, maybe we should think about an opportunity to explore how maybe we could split some of those roles and responsibilities. I mean, I don't know. We could have a conversation regarding that. This is just my belief. I don't know how everybody else, feels about that. But I think it's an opportunity for us to probably just look at other ways of getting this, done.
Okay.
And then the last piece is, as you well know, I attend a lot of the EDC meetings, and the last meeting that we were attended, something kind of was glaring. The comment was made in regards to Mill and Main, how disconnected they are from a business standpoint with the downtown businesses.
Okay.
So we need to make an effort, and I already reached out to MBA to see how we could make that happen. Maybe Megan could help us out with that.
Absolutely.
We need to somehow or another get the word out to Mill and Main businesses that there is businesses, and they need to make that connection. They're still part of the town. They're businesses, they're in town. They're not a separate, living in their own vacuum there in Mill and Main and think that they're not part of the town. So we need to make that somehow or another, that connection. So hopefully that could help in general, overall the town, perspective. So that's that.
Mr. Gavin?
Yeah, congratulations, ladies. Very well-deserved. Actually, Armin stole my idea, my thoughts on two of the issues.
Sorry about
But going to Mill and
Again
Main,
this week.
going to the Mill and Main discussion, I do think that there's a couple of things I'd like to comment on. I've heard some grumblings, and I realize it's private property, and they have liability concerns and everything else. But I've heard some people that are disappointed at the fact that they put up signs about no fishing in the mill pond.
Okay.
And, I know they don't want people falling in. I'm sure that's I'm sure their legal counsel told them that they would be potentially liable for that type of a thing.
Yeah.
But I think there's some concern from some people as to why, and then, of course, the finger goes to the town, of course, is, why did these signs up saying no fishing? I brought my son there to fish. And so to Armin's point relative to, them being part of the community, maybe if they had communicated with us that they were going to do it, we could have explained but again, it's private property, they can do what they want. I also heard something just yesterday or today about Mill and Main concern, and again, my comment to the person was, it's private property, they can do with it what they want. The high school kids apparently last year started the tradition at the prom night to go over and have their photographs taken over near the mill pond. And I know I was there last year, and I know that there was some concern from the security that came over and said, "What's this all about?" And Kevin Manning the finger was pointed at Kevin Manning, and they said that he planned it and he had nothing to do with it. But anyway, so this year they wrote a letter asking for permission to use their parking lot near the mill pond for this purpose, and they were told no.
Okay.
So the kids have no place to go for their photographs because they can't use there was some there was some hazardous stuff, firefighting stuff over at, when they used to go over to the Rod and Gun, because it got to be so popular, trucks couldn't have gotten down if there was a medical emergency or a fire. So they had to stop that. So, I suggested to the person, I guess you got to go to the school if they want to have that type of a thing. Some communities have an event at their square, so maybe someday we can have it at Memorial Park where kids congregate at Memorial Park. But this year, right now, I think they're struggling to find
When is it?
It's
Friday.
this Friday.
I
Just 2 days.
actually did hear that it's not really an outdoor location, but there is an alternate location in case of rain, and it's actually going to be at the Elks. The Elks did agree to let the kids come inside and take pictures and whatnot from like 4:30 to 6, because it is predicted to be showers and rain and things like that.
That's good.
So-
That's good. Thank you to the Elks. And
Yeah.
I
But it's
This-
kind of that thing, being a good business neighbor.
What
Yeah.
time? What
And I
time?
understand, again, they were
4:30 to
probably
6.
told by their council that this could be,
Right.
You could certainly, 4:30, 6 o'clock, you could certainly go to the golf course and just.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah,
Kinda own
that's
that.
if it doesn't rain.
yeah, but you know what?
Kinda own it.
The crowd that they get for that,
Yeah.
the car
Yeah.
parking
Oh.
would be
It's
really,
not a pretty-
it's very, very crowded when, because typically it's kids, parents, grandparents.
Limos.
Limousines, buses, it's all sorts of things. So
I mean, honestly, the Mill was the perfect place last year. It really was.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I
I thought it was a good segue from Armin's comment about the mill. And yes, we do have to promote the mill as, an economic engine for us and to get as much business in there. And we should work with them just as much as they should work with us.
Absolutely. If you're gonna talk about the mill, you should have them come in here. Like, I'm not, we can't have a conversation like this without them being in here, but we ought to invite them in here anyways, because it's been a while since they've been here, number one. And number two, several years ago, they came in with several in-depth proposals for the town and plans, and, I mean, how many nights did they come in and show us the grand plans? And, it would be nice to get an update as to, are there still grand plans? What are the grand plans? Because it wouldn't appear, based on what you see as you drive down, Main Street.
Sure.
Towards Town Hall to your left, that the things that were, part of the proposal and part of the plan.
Right.
Originally are taking place, and, do they intend to have them take place? And that speaks to Armin's.
Sure.
Thing, it was gonna be an open campus situation where people could move freely, and there would be shops and restaurants and those types of things in there. And there's one place that's been there from day one, but nothing else, so.
Yeah, right.
It might be worth a while to have them in so we get a better understanding as to what they're doing and what the commitment going forward is insofar as the previous plan is concerned.
Okay.
And from my understanding, there's 2 separate groups that are part of Mill and Main. One is the management.
That's right.
And the other one is the people that actually
owners.
owners.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure we're talking to the right source.
I think the last time they were here, we were hearing about noise.
Oh.
So that was,
Yeah, but
That
that
was
was.
Stratus, wasn't
that
it?
was-
That was 3 years
no,
ago,
That
but
was
breweries?
Stratus, that was the blowers on the roof that was making a problem
Oh.
for everyone up on the hill. And I talked to a couple of people at the Maynard, the school, the school thing at the Elks with the restaurants, Taste of Maynard.
Yep.
So I talked to a couple of people that lived up there that, Tom Hesbeck.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
my mind is junk, but anyways, I can't think of the other woman's name, but we talked about that noise in particular, and they're like, it's as good as it's gonna get. And so they've kind of stopped fighting it, but it's as good as it's gonna get.
Okay.
But they should at least come in and give us a little bit of an update on.
They have done
those
it to the Economic
previous
Development Committee.
plans.
but,
Yeah.
But we can definitely,
we can't force them because.
We could ask.
Yeah.
We can ask them.
yeah.
So if you get a chance, just ask them.
Absolutely.
Okay, Melissa?
I know this was addressed at the beginning of the meeting, but I'm super appalled by that anti-Semitic act that took place last weekend, and I think it's really important that we make it clear that this is not indicative of Maynard or who we are, and that we talk about it so it doesn't become the new normal or accepted behavior in this town, because it's not the Maynard I know. And then I also just want to say congratulations, ladies, on winning. You both ran outstanding campaigns as someone who's a campaign junkie, and you totally deserve it, and you're going to rock it. And I'm very excited to work with both of you.
That's all.
Mrs. Energy?
You purposely leave me for last. I know you
Yeah,
do.
so we could end up on a high note.
But
We're gonna
then
end.
it takes all my stuff.
Just make sure it's all,
That way I'm awakening up.
make sure it's all positive now.
All right, well, first of all, I want to echo everyone's thoughts and congratulations on the campaign. So I look forward to working with you as well, so.
That's it?
No, come on.
Kidding.
Quick thing about Aaron, I do want to say, I also agree with Armand as far as moving forward. I actually would like to look at that job description also, so I do agree with that. One thing I want to say about Aaron is it takes a very special person to only be in a position for 2 years and make it feel like
Yes.
that we can't live without him.
Yeah.
The fact that he was only in that position for 2 years really says something to his character. So we will definitely miss him. We will definitely move on, but Concord is very lucky for him. So, so that, and one more thing.
No.
I just want to do a quick update of the budget subcommittee. We met on Monday night. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that we all had time, FinCom, school committee, and Board of Selectmen, to discuss the budget and some of its challenges going into the town meeting on the 20th. We spent about the first 40 minutes or so discussing that $610,000 of the reserve fund for the school asbestos removal / remediation. The school committee presented to FinCom on May 1st. Their final number was $529,429.12, including aid from Representative Hogan. So if that $60,000 of aid doesn't go in there, then it would be $589,000. There was a lot of discussion about the suggestion from the Green Meadow Futures Committee about a survey / assessment to be done on the envelope of the building, including the roof and the windows and everything else. That estimate's about $50,000. The school committee is confident that they'll be able to utilize money in other accounts for this and will not need to use the money from the original $610,000. What we kind of talked about is the fact that we are really aware of project creep, which is basically, we had that number of $610,000, but we don't want to spend up to it if we don't have to. We do recognize that it's, I believe we made a promise to the people to really pay attention to the money. And so if that can come out of a different pot of money and the additional can go back into the reserve fund, that we would be more comfortable with that. The FinCom was clear that they have not had occasion to actually discuss the request from the school committee. The school committee presented the request, but then they will be discussing it at their next meeting. During the second half of the meeting, Bob McCarthy presented and we discussed a rough draft of what FinCom is looking to put on their website regarding the FY20 budget and then the projections and projects moving forward. It was in-depth. It included a 5-year projection, including the Green Meadow roof and a fire station, which is arguably two of the largest projects that may be on tap next. It's obvious by the information given that we as a town need to increase our revenue, which has become a familiar refrain for many of us who are aware of the challenges. Because even by cutting our expenses more than we have, it will not give us enough to gain the offset costs of the additional infrastructure. They are hoping to finalize the presentation on the website soon so the residents can find it online. And also, finally, this isn't the end of the budget subcommittee. After town meeting, our work will begin again in earnest, discussing the revenue sources, projects in town, and continuing discussions regarding the largest budget drivers. So, that's all.
So, okay, so, do you know that yet? And when we talk about Aaron, I just so everybody knows on this board, that on several opportunities, Greg and I had spoken to the sitting chairman of the school committee at the time and others within the school committee, and Dr. Girardi specifically talking about Aaron and some of the things that are getting thrown his way and pushed, onto his plate, and requested very, very, clearly that we didn't think that was the way that relationship was supposed to be, and we made several requests that all correspondence back and forth for repair requests and other types of things would go through Greg's office. That has not happened, and that was something that we requested several different times. As late as this morning, we have individuals in the schools and in the school, administration emailing Aaron directly with questions about certain things that happen in the school and whatnot. So, despite the fact that we met with them several times and were quite clear in what the town hall wanted and expected, there was no change in that. And the truth of the matter is, what drove him away at the end of the day was the fact that it was becoming difficult to walk downtown with his wife and children without being approached by people with questions or comments. And it's that type of stuff that actually drove him out of Maynard. So there was, it's a learning experience. Certainly there's more that we can do next time and will do next time, and it will not be quite as easy to get in touch with the people that, people want to call when there's a problem, but they'll go through the proper channels, which will be either Greg's office or Megan's office, and that will go to the DPW, then back to the school. That's the way it's going to work going forward. But there was some support there, but it clearly is a learning moment. For someone, it's a shame to lose someone that qualified and that good in all phases of the work, which goes to include how he dealt with the people,
Yep,
even in
that's
the
right.
most ridiculous of circumstances at school committee meetings and whatnot. He was professional.
He conducted himself so
represented us
professional,
well
right.
as a town.
Right,
He
absolutely.
represented himself well at every opportunity, so it's a huge loss. But just to say that there was a lot of support, but the support was not met with very much acceptance on the other side of the table when we had those conversations. So, and that's just a
Well,
fact of the matter.
Hopefully that
And we
changes
move
down the
forward.
road.
But tomorrow night, we have a meeting at 7. I don't think Melissa can make it, right? Correct?
Yeah,
So
sorry.
We'll take notes.
So that will be the Rockland Ave layout meeting.
Layout hearing.
That's at
And
7
that's
o'clock.
downstairs.
It's downstairs. Thank you. And we'll all be there, hopefully. And I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Everyone have a great evening. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Becky.
I don't know what the...